Kia ora. Are slides going to play? Ah, great. I was a bit worried when that disappeared. And Daniel said to me, have you got slides? I said, I did. Look, greetings everybody, Minister, members of Infracom, and thank you for the invitation. I'm going to try and touch on a few things quickly for you today around the evolution of rail and the challenges that we're addressing. It is a revolution, it is an evolution as well. We are going through a significant amount of change in the rail sector for the better for New Zealand. I want to touch on the value of rail. If we can go to the next slide. The value of rail is something that I inherently believe is a critical utility infrastructure essential for New Zealand. Lots of studies have been done on the value from time to time. Rail is known as a reducer of emissions and congestion on roads. There's 66% fewer emissions from trains versus trucks. Having had a fleet of 1,200 trucks and run a railroad before, I can tell you rail is far superior to road in terms of cargo movement. Each train is the equivalent of 50 trucks, and we're running 800 trains a week. So this machine works how? Anyhow, I'll carry on. In terms of the economic value, the study that we've done recently with Ernst & Young, proved that there was $1.5 billion per annum in the value of rail. We've just refreshed that study, and the numbers so far are in excess of $2 billion. It'll be released shortly once we consult with our ministers. One question I'd like to leave you with thinking about is, what would New Zealand look like if we didn't have a railway? In terms of truck haul numbers for the 19 million tonnes of cargo we move a year, that's on behalf of GDP producing exporters, it'll be 3 million extra truck hauls on our roads around the country. The thing about that 3 million extra truck hauls, and I know some of you here would like to have more roads, I'm certain, but the thing about those 3 million truck hauls is that they happen during the summertime, the peak of our export markets. Logging growth, produce, fish, meat and dairy is all excelling over the peak periods when our roads are congested. And 3 million extra truck hauls around that time would be significant issues in road congestion, maintenance and safety. The other thing is, Ernst & Young did a recent study that said if we looked at the road investment plan, if there were no railway, how big would that number be? And that number is 60 billion of road capital required. What's happened now? So in terms of transport assets, the reason I put this slide up here, it was compelling for us to share this with Cabinet last year to try and paint the picture. On the left-hand side, you see a 1965 TL Airways aircraft, no longer in use today because it just couldn't compete with a modern Air New Zealand or a Jetstar for safety, speed and emissions. Next one down is a 1962 frigate. Ron Mark would not be able to outrun his competition in the South Pacific if he had one of those, let alone be able to recruit to man it. So that's the future vessel competing with the old one. Below there is a comma. You don't see main freight and toll running around with something from the 60s with horsepower and energy competing with a Scania Euro 5 machine out of Europe. But down in the left-hand corner, you see a DA locomotive that's still in commission 60 years later. That's exactly the same machine. How much do you think we spend on 50 of those that I currently have in our fleet? $36 million each. And how many election cycles have we seen since 1960? 20. So we've had 20 chances to make a difference, and we still have those legacy assets to use. Big emissions, low in horsepower, high maintenance. So that was one of our reasons we stuck our capital projects up to the crown. Here we go. It's doing its own thing now. Excuse me. Are you driving that? I'm not. All right. In terms of rail investment, with the outcome of that great pictorial slide, substantial rail investment's gone in, a substantial investment that covers those legacy issues, and we're grateful for the PGF, thank you Minister, and the New Zealand Transport Authorities related to the transitional rail. Metro rail investment is essential. You've seen the growth in Auckland and Wellington, and it's kind of growing like that. Like other modern cities of the world, congestion and transport modes around our cities is critical, and rail's taking its place. So urban and regional rail network maintenance is occurring, funding to start the replacement of 100 of those locos, so getting those old ones out. 900 new wagons have been purchased, plant and building upgrades, a new tech platform, and rail projects that will allow us to compete with wider regional programs like the Capital Connect from Palmerston North and Hamilton to Auckland for start later this year. All of those things allow us to address what we'd say would probably be 30 to 40 years of legacy issues. Sustainability for us is a big one, and let's hope this button's... Oh, there we go. I didn't do that either. Supporting an integrated transport network. We totally believe in that. The rail's largest customers are road operators. And nationwide, the single largest clients we have are the largest road networks who want to complement their transport strategies by aligning with rail. Setting out a pathway for sustainability is a big one. So the New Zealand rail plan and the rail bill before the House are critical. So the first time in our history, possibly since World War II, we've seen a government come together that says sustainable investment equals better decision making. And for us, that's about recruiting the right people for the long term, retaining that talent, not losing it off to Australia like we have done in the past, building a procurement pipeline that's better economics for New Zealand. Too often in the past, our business has made the wrong decisions and expensive ones. Short-term thinking has led us to make the wrong outcomes. So we're talking long life approach, long-term strategy, and from that comes cost savings. In terms of the future, this is really exciting. In a short time from now, Minister Jones is going to announce a program of work in the Manawatu around how we look forward and what we actually look like. One of the key things for us is going to be the types of infrastructure integration that we offer. And I'll run a slide shortly that shows you a major intermodal hub investment strategy we have in the Manawatu. This is done commonplace across America, Europe and Australia, but we've never done something of this scale yet in New Zealand, so it's our first approach to that. One of the key things about when you redesign the infrastructure where we come and go from, the 55 terminals nationwide, is the energy systems that we use. In the life of a single locomotive, which can be up to 20 years, not 60, in that 20 years, we'll spend 40% of the total cost of ownership on energy for that machine. And that's a significant amount of on-cost. So for us, energy is a big part of what we're about. And we're saying we have electrification, Hamilton to Palmerston North. The question is Hamilton to Tauranga, Hamilton to Pukekohe, and potentially Auckland to Northport should a decision be made later this year. But with the North Island infrastructure of rail, an energy solution for the future is amounting to look like a hybrid. So there are hybrid machines that have a diesel engine, a battery set built into the infrastructure of the chassis, and electrical systems that charge generators on those machines. And we're saying maybe it's the hybrid that's the future for us. So we can have a mix of energies with better outcomes and better total cost over the term. So the future for KiwiRail is about catching up on legacy, hoping this rail bill gets passed to give us sustainability, and providing our exporters and our GDP producers with a better product. Kia ora.